the funding formula for K-12 and use that to pay for a teacher stipend or a teacher pay raise while cutting public funding to local school districts. That's something we're going to have to talk with Superintendent Francis Touchette about here shortly. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, quietly signed an executive order Tuesday directing federal agencies to establish a framework for vetting national security risks of the most advanced AI systems.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Josh Guillory Show. I am your very grateful host, very, very grateful host, and in studio with me, Walk Diggity Dog, Walker Gaffon. What's up, Walk?
What's going on?
Man, it's a beautiful Wednesday today, hump day, man. You know, got Dr. Kevin coming in later in the show. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. We got so many topics to talk about. I don't know if we could fit them all in. And I tell you, these first two, we might spend a whole bunch of time just on two topics today. There's like 10 subtopics just to go into each one. This first one, though, it's quite interesting. All right, so I'm looking at a Fox News report by Alex Miller. All right, so we're going to go up to Maine, our friends up in Maine. What's going on over there? So Senator Bernie Sanders, he is busy up there, okay? He's standing by Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner. Walk, have you seen this guy around the internet, Plattner, over there in Maine?
No.
Most people don't really know about him. I'll tell you a little bit about him. So he's Senator Bernie Sanders. He's endorsing this guy Plattner, despite a little bit of heat, a little bit of controversy there surrounding the candidate. Sanders says, well, you just ignore all that. We'll dive into it, but you just ignore all that because, you know, they're just billionaires are just targeting this guy, Plattner, because, well, he's willing to challenge powerful interests. He's willing to fight for progressive policies. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That might be why. That might be why Sanders is all up in arms, so passionate, because that's been his thing for forever. He can't attack millionaires anymore, though, Walk, because he's a millionaire now, so he can't. You know, his average donation $27, though. I'm with you. I don't know if that's true anymore. We shall see, shall we? So Plattner is now again. He's gonna more than likely be the nominee for the Democrat Party in the Maine Senate election, okay? Now, there's been some controversy, though, around this particular candidate. Mr. Plattner over there, some controversy or some heat erupted after, well, you may have seen this, reports surfaced involving a tattoo linked to Nazism. What do they call it? Iconography or something like that? So you have a Nazi tattoo on. All right, he's a Democrat now. Come on, what? So despite the backlash on the Nazism, Bernie Sanders and other prominent Democrats continue supporting the motherland. Supporting him. Republicans, well, they're just highlighting the controversy, questioning why Democrats are standing by the candidate. Well, it's sure. I think a lot of people are. But here's what I find very fascinating. I think this is extremely, extremely interesting. For the past, 10 years? For the past 10 years, Democrats have called Donald Trump a Nazi. They've called him a Nazi. They've called him Hitler. They've called Republicans fascists. They've called conservatives extremists, while telling our boys they're girls and girls they're boys. Okay. They've compared ordinary Americans wearing red hats to some kind of authoritarian movement. We've all heard it. You've heard it. I've heard it. The mass media has heard it. It actually became their favorite word for a while, if you think about it. Every disagreement, what would you hear? Fascism. Oh, he's a fascist. You're a fascist. You don't even know what fascism means. Every election became the end of democracy from a party that put a presidential nominee who didn't get any votes. Nice. Every Republican victory became a constitutional crisis. Well, we're in a constitutional crisis now. My goodness. What are we doing about it? We have all these constitutional crises. Meanwhile, what the heck are we looking at today? A Democratic Senate candidate facing questions involving Nazi linked imagery, and suddenly everybody wants to have a nuanced conversation. Suddenly, everybody wants context. How convenient. That's nice. You should get the context. Everybody should, not just Democrats. Suddenly, everybody over there in the Democrat leadership wants patience. The media calls for patience. Love is patient, love is kind. Suddenly, everybody wants, well, we need understanding. Why would some person do that? Especially when they're the party saving democracy and they're not the Nazi party, remember? It is amazing how quickly the rules change. But just another example of the segment we need to bring in, Walk, of if this were a Republican, what would they be doing if this is a Republican? Burning the streets, saying, see, we told you they were Nazis. See, we told you they were fascists, racists, all the things. Now, I ain't sitting there calling Graham Plattner a Nazi. I'm just saying he has a Nazi tattoo. You be the judge of it. From Maine, is that? I wonder what. I mean, I've seen. I wonder if it's like some kind of like I don't know. Bring back the. It's like I don't know what the deal is. But what I am saying, though, very crystal clearly, is that the Democrat Party has spent many years throwing around words like Hitler, throwing around words like Nazi and fascist and authoritarian, so recklessly that they've stripped those words of meaning. They don't mean anything anymore. They don't mean anything anymore. And now they're discovering that that standards should apply equally. Perhaps more and more people are saying that. You can't make this stuff up, though. I mean, they spent 10 years calling Trump. And it's not that this guy Plattner has the tattoo. It's that Bernie Sanders is an established Democrat. He don't care. He's like, yeah, Nazi tattoo, you're a Democrat. You cool. You like the socialism stuff? You like the big government stuff so you can control everybody? Because it sure as heck ain't to help people. And by the way, has that guy ever? I'm just throwing this out there, okay? Has that guy ever heard of like tattoo removal? I mean, if you're gonna run for U.S. Senate, I get it. We're all young, dumb, and full of rum at times. I get it. Or back in the day, not me. Maybe dumb sometimes, but anywho. But my goodness, fix your mistake. If that's not how you feel, I mean, my gosh. But I mean, you're rolling around there with some strong symbolism there, brother. But here's the little part that the National Democrat Party, the Democrat elite, or actually Republican elite too, but they're just being quiet on this one. If we're going to have a real, I'm talking a genuine conversation about authoritarianism, let's have one. Let's have one. And we're going to start that conversation when we get back from the break because we got a lot to cover on that. Yeah, let's talk about a little history, just a tiny little history lesson. We'll be right back, and I can't wait. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Let me tell you about my friends over there at Giles Nissan. Go check them out. Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. They always got a sale going on. Just got to check it out, though, because it come and go, but, it keeps us on our toes. Man, you're going to have a wide variety of Nissan products over there at Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. Their service team, their maintenance team, second to none. Go check them out. Tell them your friends over here at the Josh Guillory Show said hello. Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. Let's go back to this Graham Plattner story. So Graham Plattner's running for Senate in the great state of Maine, and he is going to more than likely be the Democrat nominee. And he's been endorsed by the heavy hitters. Bernie Sanders up there going on his anti-oligarchy tour. anti-fascism tour, all the things, all the words they want to call Trump. And they're sitting here, and he's sitting here endorsing a guy that has a big old Nazi tattoo on his body. I think it's his arm. I mean, or maybe his chest. I don't know. Hey, whatever. Just saying. Maybe that's his thing. Maybe that's his thing. But if we're gonna have a serious, and here's the thing, they talk about authoritarianism. They talk about fascism and all this stuff. Let's have a real conversation on authoritarianism, shall we? So historically, and let's just compare the two major parties, the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. I'm just throwing it out there, okay? I'm just throwing it out there. Historically, who has favored bigger and bigger government? Obviously, the DNC. Who believed government should regulate more areas of life? Who wants Washington? These are a few questions. Who wants Washington involved in everything? Healthcare, energy, education, banking, housing, transportation, and increasingly speech? Who spent years working with social media companies to pressure the suppression of viewpoints they disliked? That's recent history. Who wanted Americans fired for holding the wrong opinions during COVID? It wasn't the Republican Party. Who wanted dissenting voices silenced? Who regularly argues that government bureaucrats should have more authority over everyday life and use, that is not conservatism. That's not even American. I mean, conservatism, pretty straightforward. Very simple. It starts with a very simple principle. Government power should be limited. It should be limited. Individual liberty should be protected. The Constitution should constrain government, shouldn't just empower it to just take over our lives. The Bill of Rights should constrain government. It also does not. Those individual liberties are to we the people, not we the government. See, the first part of the Constitution, the Articles, just establishes the government, basically. That first 10, those Bill of Rights came in and they protect us, we the people, from the government. But we have basic conservative values, I know in this state for a majority, and probably more so around the country than we may think if we communicate those ideas. We believe citizens are supposed to be sovereign. I'm not talking about all the sovereign citizen stuff, which, hey, teach their own. But if we could govern at the absolute most local level, which is individually, personal responsibility, and keep power to the local governments, if we're gonna give power to government on our day-to-day lives, give it to your local government. We believe government is supposed to be the servant. Where's those public servants at? It's public service, not the other way around. That's the American model. And look, if we're going to discuss history, let's discuss history honestly. The Democrat Party spent generations defending slavery. The Democrat Party spent generations defending segregation. The Democrat Party spent quite a long time fighting women's rights to vote and women's suffrage. The Democrat Party spent generations opposing civil rights reforms. Yes, Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Good job, Mr. President. You needed Republican votes, and you sure as heck switched your position. It was just a few years earlier that he voted against that or didn't support that. But hey, kudos for people. I'm all about, look, you got different facts. You come to see the light. It's okay. It's all right. You change course. You change your mind. Now, and again, parties evolve. I get all that. Coalitions change. History's a little complicated at times. Most of us understand all that, but it's pretty rich. It is pretty rich listening to modern Democrats lecture the country about historical guilt while pretending their own party's history began sometime around last Tuesday. I think what we're really watching here is a political movement that has become addicted to moral outrage. No thought, no policy, no positions. Everything is Hitler. Everything's fascism, racism, a threat to democracy until one of their own becomes inconvenient. Oh no. But then we're told, I mean, think about it. This guy gets, busted for having a big old Nazi tattoo. He's probably one of the biggest ones saying Trump's a Nazi or something like that. I know your boy Bernie Sanders is rolling around spitting that noise. But this is an inconvenience. So when we have an inconvenience for a Democrat candidate, for most of the part, the media, not all of them, not your mass media guys, they come in and say, well, we're supposed to have compassion here. We're supposed to bring things in. Well, let's talk about health care. Oh, not this. We're told to focus on billionaires. Okay. We're we're told to change the subject. Let's talk about something different. Let's don't talk about his Nazi tattoo. Don't talk about the hypocrisy. I think I think the double standards are really, really burning the candle at both ends of the stick right now. I think a lot of Americans right now sitting at home, driving their car, working, doing whatever they're doing, living life. And I think ordinary folks are just tired of double standards. I don't know anybody that likes hypocrisy. I really don't. I don't know anybody that does. I'll look around. I'll look harder, but I haven't found anyone yet. I think a lot of people sitting around this great country tired of major media networks pretending one controversy is the end of civilization as we know it, while another controversy deserves understanding and compassion. I'm telling you, if this is a Republican with a Nazi tattoo, man, come on. You know exactly what would happen. But the bottom line is very simple here. The biggest story isn't even this Democrat candidate, Graham Plattner from Maine. The biggest story is that the same political movement has spent a decade calling everybody else Nazis and fascists and all these things, but this same people suddenly discovered the value of nuance when the controversy landed in its own backyard. And folks and voters, they are noticing. So we'll see here. We'll take a little break. I'm interested to see how that race turns out. But look, guys, we'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. We are broadcasting from the KPEL studios here in Lafayette, Louisiana. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. Hey, shout out to my friends over there at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic. Dr. Kevin's going to be in here later today. I can't wait. I always learn something from him. Always a treat. But look, go visit him, man. You want to feel better? Go check him out. Dr. Kevin at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic right here in Lafayette, Louisiana. 983-CARE. Excuse me, 983-CARE, okay? Check them out, Lafayette, Louisiana, right by STM off Ambassador Caffrey. Can't miss it. Okay, so let's move on to yet another election. This is worth looking at. It's kind of interesting. So according to the New York Post, Adam Hamaway has won the Democratic primary to replace retiring Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman in New Jersey's heavily Democrat 12th congressional district. Now, Hamaway, I don't know how to say that person's name. Hamaway. How do you say that? Hamaway? Hamami? Hame? Can I just go with Hame? The guy from the guy from New Jersey's 12th district. Anyway, Hamaway, I think is his name. He's an Iraq war veteran, though, because that's not the point. I'm going to get to the point. He's a former combat surgeon. who received some endorsements of, who you would think. AOC, beacon of common sense. Elon Omar, yeah, she's been in the news. Rashida Tlaib, yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, Bernie Sanders, the ringleader. Bernie Sanders and his three, what was it like this? The not the Supremettes, but we'll have to figure it out. We'll have to get some the lefties. Bernie Sanders and his team. There you go. So his victory comes. This guy wins the Democrat nominee. His victory comes as questions continue to be raised about past associations that critics say deserve scrutiny. These guys don't care. Actually, they do care. They just don't care about hiding it anymore. They don't care about hiding. The last candidate that Bernie Sanders and all these folks are getting around has a big Nazi tattoo openly. You ever heard of tattoo removal? I'm just saying. Unless maybe that's still your thing. Maybe that's still your thing. Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. He could loan you, I don't know, it's a couple $100 probably get it removed. I'm just saying. Could help. All right, so here's a few facts. Again, this guy wins a Democratic primary. He was endorsed by the Squad. Oh, yeah, the Squad and Bernie Sanders. But here's the point. Here is the point. Reports have highlighted his past volunteer work. Yeah, volunteer work with an organization later described in the 9/11 Commission report as having links to Al-Qaeda activities. Is anybody shocked? You think Elon Omar didn't know that? Probably got her motivated, got her fired up. Finally, an American she can relate to. I'll bring you the Somali coalition. All right, he's never been charged with any terrorism-related offense. I want to make sure that's said. His campaign is opined. They say criticism of his past associations are unfair, and that he has spent his life serving America. Okay. Included as a combat surgeon during the Iraq War. I appreciate your service. It doesn't give you an excuse to be associated with Al-Qaeda. And why is this? This is in New Jersey. Where was this? Yes. Oh my gosh. 12th District of New Jersey? We're only 25 years removed from 9/11. Al-Qaeda, hello. You got a Nazi up there. You're a person with Nazi tattoos or a tattoo. You be the judge. Openly, by the way. And then you got this guy who's doing volunteer. Do you think he puts that on his service hours? Like if he has to turn it into a club. I volunteered 12 hours today here, Jim. What'd you do, Bob? Well, I just went and helped out a little Al-Qaeda, just a little recruiting. Did a little recruiting. No big deal. No biggie. They're real nice. All right, let's get right to it here. So again, the story ain't about this gentleman running for Senate, okay? It's about the modern Democrat Party. Again. Now this one rhinos do subscribe to, though. I will give them that. Because the hypocrisy. Look, if you've been paying attention to politics over, again, the last 10 years, we covered some of it earlier. I mean, Republicans ain't just the elected folks. All of us Republicans are constantly subjected to ideological background checks. And to my modern Democrats that are leaving the hen house over there, I get it. You can relate to this too, I'm sure. You guys are constantly subjected to purity tests now for having a little common sense. Now, hopefully you pass it. Well, pass it for us, not them. But a Republican attends the wrong meeting 20 years ago. Shoot. Headlines. A Republican has a Nazi tattoo. Headlines. A Republican likes the wrong social media post. Headline. Someone from the GOP takes a picture with the wrong person. Say it with me. Headline. The media goes into full forensic investigation mode when it's a conservative, when it's a Republican, maybe one of those rhinos they love, actually, because that's their rhinos are like the elite left. That's their SS, man. That's their secret forces, dude. They go in there. They love them. They love them. Put that R behind your name, even though you're a lifelong Democrat. It's all good. They have infiltrated, and it's all over the country. Now, these two examples, they ain't rhinos. I'll give them some credit. They are boldly, man, you want to call them Democrats? You want to call this Al Qaeda link guy and that Nazi tattoo guy Democrat? That's fine. I don't know. Do the Democrats own them? Yes. So you have to call them Democrats because Bernie Sanders and the crew and the squad. Bernie Sanders and the squad coming up with a new album. You know? But anyway, yeah, you do all this. If I mean, look, the media goes like again. It's not every outlet. We got some good ones. Join us on KLFY Plus, a very good good channel. I mean that. But really, most of these national media corporations, okay, they push this, they go in this forensic investigation mode if it's a Republican, okay? A Republican takes the wrong picture, a Republican has an association 15, 20, 25 years ago. Oh yeah, CNN starts sweating, MSNBC starts, I don't know, getting what did they say over there about Obama getting a warm feeling up his leg or something like that? It's kind of weird. What's the deal with Democrats and males and legs? Not your regular average Democrat. I'm talking about like President Biden and that guy from MSNBC talking about is it Chris Matthews maybe? Anywho, where's Jamie on Joe when I need him on this? He knows this. The New York Times would assemble a task force if this were a Republican. We'd have a task force to talk about how we purge this Al Qaeda loving candidate from our country. Everybody grabs a flashlight, starts searching through yearbooks if this is a Republican. But with somebody on the progressive side, different ball game. You get somebody on a different side of the aisle, you get one of these rhinos, and they generate uncomfortable questions. Suddenly everybody becomes a philosopher. Double standard to say the least. So again, suddenly context matters. Suddenly, again, we want to talk about nuances. We want to talk about thoughtful conversations. It's amazing how that works. It's amazing how that works. But let's go into who actually endorsed this guy. That might be more telling than anything. But we're going to take us a tiny little break. When we get back, we'll wrap up this story and so much more. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Go visit my friend Dr. Stacey St. Marie, one of the nicest humans on the planet, and his crew. Man, I'll tell you what, they're gonna take care of you. They have so many options with braces and orthodontics these days. Like obviously, you got children, you got grandchildren, you got a lot of great options, man. Dr. Stacey St. Marie over there at St. Marie Orthodontics. I sent my most treasured folks, some of my most treasured folks over there. They took care of them and always with a smile. And sometimes parents have a lot of questions. I'm just saying, maybe I'm married to someone that asks really good questions. They're patient. She's gonna kick me if she hears this. But anyway, I love it over there. And also they have options, a lot of professionals listening, or maybe you just don't want to see the braces. They have some those invisible liners. You see them on TV, you see them around. You probably know some folks that use them. Very convenient. See if you qualify, man. Go visit them. It's Dr. Stacey St. Marie Orthodontics. Tell them your friends Josh and Jamie said hello. Love those guys and gals over there. Oh, by the way, got a new associate dentist in there, orthodontist in there. She's great. She is wonderful. Fits right in. And man, yeah, just go visit my friends over there, St. Marie Orthodontics. Just really, really good folks. Really good quality folks. High quality. All right, so we're talking about the Democrat Party and its choice. Basically, the theme of today is the National Democrats Party choices of candidates. Let's say it like that. That was nice. Choices of candidates. So the first segment we brought, or the first topic we talked about, involved a candidate who had a Nazi tattoo. This one we're talking about in New Jersey, 12th district. this candidate has ties, volunteer work. Oh, that's good for linked to Al Qaeda. That's not me talking. That's the 9/11 Commission. So I mean, really, you got ties to a group associated with Al Qaeda, and that's what I mean. Let's look at what stands out. Let's look at what stands out. Who's endorsed this dude? The Squad, Bernie Sanders, the same crowd that has spent years accusing conservatives of extremism. We've been preached to. The same crowd's called us threats to democracy and nominates a dang presidential candidate without a single vote. That's when you man, that's when you know you are bold with like arrogance. They're like, man, these dumb Americans, these dummy peasants, we just controlled them for years, a couple of years in COVID. They'll never know. Trump, bad orange man. They think he's bad. Whatever. Yeah. More of us than you. More of us than you. Meaning more of us common sense folks that just want the right thing to be done. A lot more of us, Republican or Democrat. Way more of us than you elites. Way more. And I think they found that out. Let's see. Let's do our best not to lose that though, Republicans. So, I'm talking about the elected folks with love. But all of those guys, the Squad, Bernie, and their following, their leadership following, not the regular folks, man. But they've been lecturing us about dangerous rhetoric. I mean, I'm just trying to rattle off a few that we've heard of. Some classics, some best hits, best of the lunatics. I don't know, or loony toony way of thinking. Those are the people leading the cheers today. All those folks. That's who lead. That's who's in front. And look, I'll be fair. Adam Hamaway or Hamaway. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering this guy's name. Hey, he served our country, and that matters, and I appreciate that. I really do. He's a combat surgeon, man. Those look, we sometimes they see some gruesome stuff over there. You know, all of that is important. And the article that I'm relying on itself states he was never charged with terrorism-related crimes. So I'm not saying he's Al Qaeda. I'm just saying he volunteered for groups that were tied to him. You know, those facts deserve to be acknowledged, and that's why, I mean, I owe you truth. I'm always going to bring you good, bad, or ugly. At least try to. At least try to. So that's fair to note. But what also is fair to note, questions are allowed, candidate. Scrutiny is allowed. The mass media and the Democrat Party do that to Republicans constantly, and that's fair game. We just ask that you do it to both sides. Journalists asking questions is allowed for this person over here in New Jersey. And look, journalists are asking questions on that. That's fair. Voters wanting answers, dear candidate, that too is allowed. The same standards that Democrats demand for everybody else, crazy thought, should apply to Democrats. That's not unfair. That's equality. I don't want to start throwing that equity word in because you ask 1,000 activists what equity means and you're going to get 1,000 different answers. But there's a larger story here. You know, the Democratic Party keeps drifting further and further towards a political movement that sees America as the problem. That is the issue. Think about that. Think about what I just said. The party's most energized wing constantly attacks America and constantly attacks America's history. America's founding, America's institutions, America's allies, America's traditions, America's borders, America's military, America's economic system. Everything is oppression with this group. And rhinos are very big on this too. Everything is systemic. Everything is injustice. Everything is some grand struggle against the country that gave them the freedom to say the doggone things they're saying in the first place. Can you make it up? And now we're watching that same faction continue gaining influence because there ain't no leaders. Where's Akeem Jeffries on this, man? Like you support a guy, and there's no explanation coming out either. There are people seeking explanation, but it's like, oh, racist. Oh, you're a racist for asking. You're a fascist for asking. You know, whatever negative for just asking a reasonable question. This ain't me and Walker's report. This is the 9/11 Commission. Why you get mad at us? Why you get mad at Walker? He hadn't said anything all day. Walker's busy over there. The squad isn't losing influence. They're gaining it in that party. They're not gaining it in the rest of the country. What's interesting on this is the more they gain, they get like, it's like their bubble gets stronger, but it gets smaller. It gets louder and smaller. They think, I'm just telling you, these folks live in a bubble. So, all right, guys, stick around. Hour number 2 right around the corner. I can't wait. Me and Walt gonna have some fun. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Josh Guillory Show. I remain your very grateful host, and in studio with me still, Walker Griffon. What's up, Walk Diggity Dog?
What's going on?
Man, you had a good break?
Yeah, how about yourself?
Yeah, it was wonderful. You know, got to stretch a few things. You know, like my vocal cords. I'm getting ready for hour number 2. I went and did my my prep. People are like, what is he talking about? Anyway, all right, guys. Look, hey, by the way, all your automobile needs, I want you to go to Stan's Auto. Man, they got 2 great locations. One serving the wonderful people of Lafayette in this region, off of Johnson Street near Reds, near the Grand Theater, Duce Road and Johnson Street. Stan's Auto, and then serving the wonderful folks of New Iberia and the surrounding areas, right off of Admiral Doyle, old J.P. Thibodeau building. Look for it, man. I'm telling you right now. I go to them for a reason. Okay, they're quick, they're honest. I've had to order a few parts, and I'm amazingly surprised. I thought they had like what is it, Amazon Prime that delivers? I think they have. Do they have like a station in the back because they get their equipment so quick, or what are their supplies? But anyway, go visit them. Stan's Auto, love those guys. Tell Sterling I said hello. All right, no pressure. All right, so let's move on. Walk, have you heard of? I know this is rarely in the news. Have you heard of congressional districts?
A time or two.
You have, yes. Being on, helping out with 3 shows here at KPEL probably gets you exposed to a few things. That's why I try to throw it off a little bit for you, give you a little variety by the time you come to me. All right, so let's go in here. Hey, look, this is worth talking about, guys, and I wish we had the phone lines open because I'd love your thoughts on this. By the way, phone lines will be open tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Can't wait for that. My favorite part of the whole show each and every day. So according to The Hill, they've been having some articles out there I've been watching. Hadn't covered too many of them, but I'm covering this one. So the United States Supreme Court, and it's The Hill and other aspects. I like this one article because it gave a little more analysis. But the United States Supreme Court has cleared the way for Alabama Republicans to use a congressional map for the midterm elections. The ruling could eliminate Alabama's majority-minority congressional district and potentially create another Republican pickup opportunity in Congress. So, again, the Supreme Court has sided with Alabama Republicans. The court allowed the new map to move forward. All 3 of the liberal justices dissented. Same thing in Calais versus Louisiana, 6-3 decision. I'm saying this with full respect to the court, genuinely. I just don't know how. I don't know how you can call like the dissent, and this is just my opinion. They have an opinion, and I respect it. And I'm a lawyer; they're a lawyer. They wear black robes. I don't. They get to make decisions. Okay, I get it. But my opinion's different. And when we have a district based on race, that is racism. So I don't understand in 2026 how three justices of the United States Supreme Court would rule that way. I'm just saying, if it was a majority white district, where would those three justices be at? They'd be overturning that map like it's no tomorrow. No tomorrow. In my humble opinion, which I'm allowed to have. I gotta clarify, you know what I'm saying? I ain't attacking him personally. Jeez. Democrats and voting right groups, by the way, they are walk. They're mad. They're mad at this. They ain't liking it. Republicans see the ruling as another sign the court is moving away from race-based redistricting requirements. You think so, GOP? But no, this is a good step because this is another case where the Supreme Court ruled this. So let me say it differently. I'm surprised they took the case because it's so similar to Cale versus Louisiana, which is Louisiana's redistricting case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court and was kicked back. The map was kicked back because it was generated based on race predominantly. Can't do that. It's racist. So interesting that the court took this case, and taking that case, they ruled the same way. So now there's for folks, for jurists such as Chief Justice Roberts, which voted to the right way, in my opinion, on this one. He's big on precedent. Other justices and judges are big on precedent. So that precedent just got stronger by two cases, very short period of time, saying the same thing. So that's really big for equality. That's really big for fairness. That's really big for our country making steps towards being not racist. You know, if you don't want to, you can't fight racism with racism. You don't fix injustices of centuries ago. I mean, look, there is a strong directive, at least in the Old Testament, by God, that sins of parents do not go over to sins of the parent. The children don't suffer for the sins of parents. Okay? And I'm still, Walk, we talked about this yesterday. I've really been looking. I've been looking for anybody that's been a slave because maybe you have an argument. You know, like these reparations and stuff. Nobody's alive to sue for it. That would be the only ones that could. If the government comes in and falsely imprisons you have a claim, a 1983 action. No one is there. And if we really want to get technical legally, the survival action has run in Louisiana at least. So I just don't understand it. Like, I'm trying to rationalize this. Maybe that's why I'm spinning my wheels. But look, going back to the story, when I first saw this story, my reaction was pretty simple. You know, why should anybody in Louisiana care about Alabama congressional maps? Why would anybody, our friends in Missouri, California, appreciate you guys, saw those numbers, man, that's wow. You know, why would anybody in California care about this? You know, it's very simple. This is not really an Alabama case. Alabama, or definitely not an Alabama story. You know, this is a story about power. This is a story about, that I'm referencing, about political power specifically. And every political party in America understands exactly what's at stake. Let's talk about the blunt version. I think that's needed. Democrats fight for Democrat seats. Republicans fight for Republican seats. That's how politics work. It's just in the past, we haven't acted this extreme. In the past, and look, we've had a lot of states that have independent commissions. Yeah, they may be tilted a little bit, tilting left, a lot of these, but there's still commissions that allowed for some Republican seats. That is gone. So every Republican state that controls their congressional districts, by the way, Walker, that's 50 out of 50 states. I just want to let you know. Because we may have forgot. I think I heard of a Republican state still choosing to create a Democrat seat. And is it in the Deep South too? Isn't that crazy? Who could that be? But nobody should be shocked by all this. Republicans fight for Republican seats. Dems fight for Dem seats. Hey, nobody should need smelling salts because politicians are trying to win elections. It's the whole game. I think what fascinates me, though, is how often Republicans seem surprised by this reality. So we're gonna cover that part. I want to cover that aspect of this whole thing when we get back. Stick around, guys. We'll take a tiny little break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Hey, check us out at rumble.com. Check us out at KLFY Plus each day. KLFY Plus 6 days a week, actually. Sunday through Friday. We're happy to be over there. You can check not only our show out, but you got a whole other options too at KLFY Plus. Go check them out. I think one of only three local news channels in our state to have that Plus channel. It's a streaming channel, so it's pretty neat. You can go check it out. You can get it on your smart TVs, Roku, and all that. Pretty cool. So go check them out. Hey, by the way, go check out my friends Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette as well. Got a whole bunch of variety out there. You know they're going to take care of you. It's the Giles Automotive Company. They have strict standards. Leave your when you bring it in for maintenance, for example, they will leave your vehicle better in a much better condition than you even left it with. It's just what they do. You know they take joy in going the extra mile. That's the best. I think that's the best way I can explain. They have joy, genuine joy. Can't fake it. Genuine joy on finding value for their customers. So go check them out. Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. There's always a deal around the corner, so it changes so much I can't keep up with it. So go ask them. Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. I love those guys. Check them out. And walk on the way back from visiting Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. Whenever you are in your new Nissan, swing by Dino's. You can get you a good little chicken Caesar salad like me and Walt do, or I don't know. It's Friday and Saturday coming up. Pepperoni pizza time. You know it. Guys, I ain't gonna lie. I've been good this week on my diet. I'm gonna tear it up come either Friday. I'm gonna pick one, Friday or Saturday. But Dino's is gonna see me and it ain't gonna be salad. All right. Let's talk about this again. These congressional districts, man. Okay, so the Supreme Court ruled yet again. This is an Alabama case that has very similar facts as the Louisiana case. It goes all the way to the Supreme Court. They had this majority-minority district. In that case, it was their second one, and the Supreme Court said, no, that district is unconstitutional. We just told you that. In Alabama, only one of the two were up, just like Louisiana. So that other one, but when you nullify one, you got to start over anyway because you got to redraw all the districts. So we'll see how Alabama takes it. I would be shocked if Alabama keeps a Democrat seat. I just would. I would be shocked if it shocks me if any Republican state keeps a Democrat seat because the Democrat. Listen, Virginia, we conservatives. Yeah, we got fortunate. We got lucky a little bit because Virginia's own Supreme Court told their legislature when they went from 6-5 Democrat to a 10-1 Democrat. Virginia Supreme Court said you didn't follow the Virginia rules. You violated the law in doing it. It's unlawful. So they nullified it. But they're coming back and it's going to be 11-0. They just need to figure out how to do it. That's the ball game where we're in, you know? But what fascinates me is, again, I said this right before the break, is how often we Republicans seem surprised by this reality we're talking about. You know, about winning seats. Republican leadership wants to win Republican seats. Democrat leadership wants to win Democrat seats. That's always been the game. But what is really kind of interesting is how we Republicans act to that very, very simple truth, that simple reality. Democrats, by the way, Democrat leadership never apologizes for wanting more seats. You ever notice that? The Democrat Party does not apologize for wanting to gain Democrat seats. They never apologize for wanting larger minorities. Heck, in the Senate, they have the minority and they're acting like the majority. They control everything because of our Senate leader. And I hate to say that. I really do. But they never apologize for wanting a bigger majority. They never apologize for trying to maximize their influence. They wake up every morning trying to figure out how to win. And frankly, Republican leadership should too. And you can win, by the way, with good policies and good messaging and all that stuff. You don't have to do the dirty stuff. But let's talk about what really, what this case is really meaning here, okay? The Supreme Court of the United States appears to be continuing a trend. We talked about it last segment. The court is increasingly skeptical about this idea that race should dominate the redistricting process. Whether somebody likes that or dislikes that, I get it, but that's clearly where several justices, 6 of them, 6 out of 3, appear to be heading. And if that's where the court is heading, every state legislature in America, I'm telling you, is paying attention. I thought they were paying attention after Calais. I think they still are. I think they were, and they definitely are after this one. But I'm talking like every state, man. Texas, California, you name it. Everybody. You know, congressional maps are they're more than lines on a paper. They're political power. They're political power. That's how you get the votes. Their influence. Literally our votes. They're committee chairmanships. They're majorities. When you're a majority, you got chairmanships that go along with it. You control what goes through Congress. Then maybe you even vote on it. The House has been voting. The Senate, I don't know what. Why do we pay them? But these congressional districts are public policy, if you think about it. So all of that, very important. All of that means a lot. Now, we broadcast from Louisiana. Let me bring it home real quick. You know, one thing I've learned, one thing a lot of us have learned over the years is that Louisiana conservatives actually believe in their ideas. It's a very just like AOC believes in her ideas. I don't know how she can, but I really believe she believes it. She's just a little naive. But look, conservatives believe, at least in our state, and I think across the country, we have conviction behind our thoughts. Okay, we believe it. We believe lower taxes work. Any Republican in office that has raised taxes should not be elected in this environment. Okay, especially local. I mean, you got surplus money, but anyway. But we believe in lowering taxes, not raising taxes. We believe safer communities matter. We believe that, especially local level. It's a domino effect. We believe economic freedom matters. Government, get out of the way. Nowhere in there does it say we the government. It says we the people. Nowhere in there does it say you have all this economic right. Your main focus, especially federal government, is to make sure the economy's flowing. The way you do that best is get the heck out of the way. You got to put some reasonable rules into place. Great. But even those interpretations of statutes and rules by the agencies and all these things, it's so convoluted. I only know because I was in office trying to get all these people telling me all these things at once. I'm like, this is so convoluted. What's the straight answer? You can never get it. So you got to navigate. You got to do your best you can based on the advice that you have to make decisions. But we believe, us conservatives, in that freedom economically. We believe parents should have more authority over their children's education. Parents know what's best for their child way better than the government. Way better than the government. Period. The government knows government. Listen, government by design is not I don't know, I don't want to call it evil because that's so extreme, but don't trust it. Don't trust it. And it's not because any individual is bad. Yeah, there's some bad actors. Most people are good, though. It's just the way that the model's set up. You know, we talk about power all the time in a different concept, but that power never leaves the office. It always grows unless you got somebody coming in there shrinking it, which is great. Every once in a while you see that, every once in a while. But look, we believe, us conservatives, of what the Constitution means and what it says. Just like all these Second Amendment cases. Why? Well, it's very clear, very crystal clear. And you have a 2008 and 2011 case, D.C. versus Heller and City of Chicago versus McDonald, I believe, reaffirming our Second Amendment right. But yet we still have people on the left pushing. We still have people on the left pushing for all of us citizens not to have guns, but they want the government to have guns. Yeah, the people you should trust the least. The entity you should trust the least, you want to give them guns, but take ours away. That makes zero sense. That makes extremely little sense. That makes sense. If we believe those things, then we shouldn't be afraid to compete, my dear Republicans, anywhere with anybody at any time. That is not arrogance, it's just confidence. It's confidence on our ideas because we've seen these ideas play out. Don't always help people. I mean, you help people in those ideas. You don't always maintain the peace with the elites because a lot of times you go in there and you do this stuff, you're taking control around, you're taking control away from the bubble, away from the cabal. They don't like that. They don't like that. All right, guys. So look, we're going to take us a tiny little break. We get back, we'll carry on with this discussion, so much more. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Man, go visit my friend Dr. Kevin. Dr. Kevin at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic. Man, you can't go wrong. This guy's going to help you out. If you got any questions, maybe you're on some medication you want to ask Doc about, maybe you could do a path, test your blood work. Perhaps, you work with your doctor, your healthcare folks, and maybe get off some medicine. I don't know. Maybe you can lose some weight. Maybe you can just feel better. You got that fog or whatnot. But there's I'm just giving you samples of what this team can do for you on a very individualized treatment plan. I know it firsthand, and it is painless. It's easy. Go visit Dr. Kevin at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic here in Lafayette, Louisiana. We'll hear from Dr. Kevin here in a little bit. I can't wait. I got to get him back here live. It's going to be fun. Let's move on to another little story here that's very, very, very interesting. According to the Advocate, well, we've covered this a little bit, but let's go to this Advocate story. All right, the Louisiana Supreme Court, they've been busy too. They just upheld Act 15. Act 15 was the law that merged the civil and the criminal clerk of courts office in Orleans Parish. Every other parish has one. And effectively eliminated the clerk, the criminal clerk position. You got civil clerk, you got criminal clerk. It pretty much did eliminate the criminal clerk position that Calvin Duncan had just won in last year's election. And Calvin Duncan's pretty popular gentleman down there in the African American community, but really New Orleans as a whole. So here's a few facts. Legislature passed Act 15. The law merged the two clerks' office. Duncan won last year's, election as criminal clerk last year, by the way, with 68% of the vote. That's a lot. 68, anything over 60, you're smoking it. I mean, like big time. The Louisiana Supreme Court upheld the law in a divided 4-3 decision. The majority concluded the legislature had the constitutional authority to eliminate the office. That's the ruling. 3 justices dissented, arguing the law effectively nullified the results of an election. I could see that point, but the Attorney General came in with a good explanation on that. But look, this case has generated a lot, okay? A lot of heat because people keep talking past each other. One side is talking about legislative authority. The other side is talking about voting rights. Okay, and those are 2 very different conversations. If you really compare and contrast, the majority on the Supreme Court looked at the law and basically said the legislature created this office. The legislature can eliminate this office, and the Constitution gives lawmakers broad authority to do that. So I'm quoting the court on that. And that's a legal argument too. The dissenters on the court looked at the same facts and said, well, wait a minute. The people just voted. They elected someone. Then government came along and eliminated the office before he could serve. That's the political argument. So you got your legal argument, you got your political argument, and quite frankly, honestly, you can understand why folks are passionate about both. Okay, you got your political argument, you got your legal argument, you got a whole bunch of people opining. You got a guy that won an election 68% in Orleans. Pretty big, man. This is one of those rare cases, though, where reasonable people can look at the same situation and focus on completely different principles. I'm giving both the majority and the dissent credit for thinking and putting it out there because both have valid points. I get all that. But the legislature and the governor and the AG were all 100% valid in doing what they did, and the Supreme Court has recognized that, the Louisiana Supreme Court. But what interests me is the larger lesson. What gets me kind of my antenna up here, and let's see here. Government structures are not permanent. The power you give these government structures will be permanent unless you do something about it and shrink government. Put a sunset clause on your power. We do that for taxes. That's why ain't no such thing as renewing a millage. It is a new millage. A millage expires. When it expires, it's no longer a millage. You can't renew something that is not existing. But just saying, make those governments earn their millage. First, do the work. That's the best way to do it. You go out there and do the job. People will see it. You fake it. They'll see that too. You got to literally get out there and clean those streets and clean those ditches and pave those roads and build those projects and keep people safe. You got to do all that. But the structure of government is not always so permanent. And when it comes to these things, you got to look at who has the power here to create, who has the power to legislate. If they can create, they can legislate. But offices come and go. Boards come and go. Boards come and go all the time. Oh, got it. If you're talking about boards, you got to talk about commissions. Commissions come and go. And look, don't underestimate these boards and commissions, okay? I call it the silent bureaucracy. The silent bureaucracy. There's a lot of decisions that are made in these boards. There's a lot of decisions that are made by these commissions. And I tell you, rightfully so, the executive branch, whether it's local or in this case, the state, the governor has more than 4 million folks to lead and govern 64 parishes. So these commissions, in theory, are supposed to help kind of move things along in certain areas, very, very limited areas. But if they go unchecked, they will impact administrative law. They will impact the impacts of the consequences of the administration. Sometimes the administration can be doing things that the administration doesn't know because these commissions are binding them to do things. That's kind of extreme. You rarely see that, but just know that these commissions and these boards, they can help a lot of folks. And if there's people listening right now that are serving or watching that are serving on one of these boards and commissions, we appreciate you definitely because it's not a paid gig. And I always appreciated my appointees for these boards and commissions, and they would give me an earful sometimes. And they didn't always agree with my policies, but we were able to work some things out. But this is good, But government structures, man, they come and go. Consolidations happen, and that's what this is—a consolidation of two offices that, if it's good enough for the other 63 parishes, it's good enough for Orleans. That's why I really believe we need to go back to the drawing board and redraw these maps. I get it; that ship has sailed. We're going to vote on the map we're going to vote in accordance with the new map, but I'm just telling you, Democrat seats are going to make 100%. Democrat states are going to make 100% Democrat congressional districts. Why not give the folks of Orleans good representation? They've been represented by Democrats for 50, 60, 70 years. What do they have to show for it? They actually have a lot to show for it, but it's not necessarily positive. And that city has so much potential. I have talked with our lieutenant governor a ton. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations about tourism and things like that, and I was always as far as Lafayette goes, man, we're Lafayette Parish and Acadiana was such a unique opportunity that we could just soar with quality of life, with these initiatives, these tourism initiatives that are outside what we're even imagining because of the location of Lafayette, for example. Intersection of two interstates, I-49, I-10. You got New Orleans to the east, you got Houston to the west. We're in the middle. We should be blowing it up figuratively in a good way. And there was some momentum, hoping that comes back. I really do. But you got local leaders here, man. You got these hoteliers, for example. Those guys know what's going on. Talk to them about tourism. But we'll take us a tiny little break. I don't know why I got on that tangent, Walk. You didn't throw anything at me. That's really good. Stick around. We'll be right back.